Okay, now we are on episode 19 of that podcast you're listening to right now.
What's it called?
Eat, drink, be scary.
That
We're
was
actually going to
really
be kind of scary this time. So we're talking about ghosts.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to talk about scary stuff every time, but it's really not generally very
Well,
scary.
sometimes it's paranormal. Sometimes it's just, it's a scary comedy show.
Yeah, this is it's a podcast where we talk about stuff that's scary, could be scary, deemed scary, and we eat and drink stuff. And today we've had a couple different drinks, which are related to. Generally, we drink to something that's related to what we are going to talk about. And today, Liberty, you brought over. First of all, we should say, today it's only 3 of us, and not we're missing 2 people.
And not 14.
Well, Tom and Ryan are not here tonight. They got some stuff going on, and so we're just going to do a little fun. But we have our guest Liberty here, but Bill and Tanya are still here.
Yes, we are.
So anyway, Tanya, we are drinking what? Or actually, Liberty, what'd you bring?
Oh, okay. Well, I brought 2 offerings. One is a lovely red wine that I've never had, but I'm going to say it's lovely, called Ghost Pines.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then the other one, because we're talking about ghosts, or ghostesses, as I like to call them.
You could be gender neutral.
The other thing that I brought was white wine, and it doesn't have a cool ghosty title, but the reason I think it is applicable is because we all know that ghosts wear white sheets when they haunt people.
Yes,
So
they do.
white wine, white sheets. Ta-da!
Why do you think that started? Why do you think
I was wondering that earlier today, and I wish I would have had time to look it up.
that's a weird thing?
I kind of have an idea. So, like for some reason whenever people would leave houses for a long time, but it'd be like summer or winter, they would just put sheets over everything in their houses to cover the furniture to protect them from the dust.
Oh yeah.
Abandoned places tend to get, the stigma of it's haunted. So everything in there is covered in a sheet, ghosts included.
And because they would get cold and take the sheets off of the furniture.
Exactly. I mean, why not?
When I was a kid, I did a few
When
of the
you're- when you're
discount
dead, it's cold.
True.
Halloween costumes where you just took an old sheet and cut the holes out. But
Casper.
there was one year that my friend Mark Hokinson and I, God, I don't even have that guy. Hey, Mark Hokinson, if you're listening to this, reach out. He and I developed 3 different costumes because we can go to 3 different houses, the same house 3 times. Costume 1, we dressed like Kiss, the band Kiss. Costume 2, we had Stormtrooper helmets, which, by the way, mine didn't really fit over my head because I have a huge melon head. So it kept it kept scraping my makeup off, so we had to keep sponging it. And costume number 3, ghosts. So if we liked a house, we could just go back to it 3 times. And I don't think we ever really did it. It just seemed like a great idea.
So wait, the thought was not to do a whole neighborhood and then switch your costume and go back through the neighborhood, but it was like go as Kiss, go around the corner, put your Stormtrooper helmet on, and go immediately back to the house.
Actually, he had a Boba Fett helmet.
That's
but
amazing.
I had a Stormtrooper helmet, which was not my helmet. I borrowed it. Yeah. And then if we went back like the 3rd time, like, oh my God, look, they have huge Hershey's there. Hershey's. They have huge
Oh,
Hershey's.
like the neighborhood with the full-size
Mark,
candy bars?
they've got full Hershey's. Let's go. And then we would run there and do the. We would go back and get a 3rd candy. But I think we maybe did it once or twice. It was really more work than it was worth.
That's too many wardrobe changes.
And we also learned you just say, "Hey, can I have extra?" They're like, "Sure, here you go, kid."
True. Who's going to say no?
Exactly, because I was a cute Kiss kid. Oh, look, there's
Aww.
Ace Frehley. He's hot. I don't know. He's a cute little kid. Oh, look at that Stormtrooper
And also, where did you carry the extra costumes?
in the bag. Well, first of all, hold on. It was just the helmet. So the helmet.
And a
So
sheet.
You just carry
have
in
the
your hand.
same. You have the same costume.
Yeah. Well, it's okay because it's not like I wore a Kiss outfit. I just had the Kiss makeup on.
And
And
like
then all you had to
jeans
do is
and
put
a
it out.
t-shirt.
No one's gonna know. This was in L.A. Like 50 kids would go up to a door every hour. Like they're not gonna remember.
True. And your
Although-
members-only jacket.
Yeah, maybe. I'm the last member. You don't know. You don't know. So anyway, yeah, the sheets and the ghost and the. I don't know why they do this.
That's why I think it's one of those things, and also it's just the mystery of it's a person, but it's not a person. It's a person, but not a person type thing.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Like, they manifest themselves, according to some, as some sort of energy, and they don't have a form that is touchable. I mean, they walk through walls. So you have to put something over them in order to see that there's something there. I just made that up.
Well, I mean, you think about the whole thing. The reason you would see a ghost is it is reflecting light. That's how we see.
That's
so
true.
A ghost would have
What?
to.
That's how we see things. So I can see this wine glass because the light is reflecting. As the light is hitting this glass and it is reflecting into my eyeballs, and so I'm seeing something reflect off of this surface.
That
off
and
of
she's
this
thirsty.
surface.
She's really
Yes.
thirsty.
Off of this surface. Everything I see is because light is hitting it and it's hitting my eyeballs. So technically, it doesn't make sense that you can only see ghosts at night where it's dark because there's not
Yeah.
light.
Unless they're wearing a sheet.
And now every ghost has just been officially debunked.
No, not true. It's just ghosts are.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Now they know that we're onto them, and they're going to get more clever and wear different coverings,
Anti-reflective ghost makeup.
curtains.
Yeah. I gotta stop wearing sheets when I go.
Why
out.
are all my pants walking around?
Exactly.
So that's why we should not see ghosts. And there is no particle out there that's going to reflect light and go through a wall. Come on.
What if there is a ghost particle? I mean, there are particles that pass
There
through
is a
walls.
ghost particle, but it's completely
different.
something else.
Too sciencey.
It's
Anyway,
clear. Yeah, I'm lost.
All right. Well, with that, that's a very nice segue into. Oh, and
And
also
here I do have something. So it's eat, drink, and be scary. We're missing the eat part, which we didn't eat. So our food is technically a ghost because
Oh, I see what you did
nice.
there.
there's nothing there.
this ghost prime rib is not reflecting light
It's true.
or
Oh,
smelling.
that smells so
Or
good.
taste.
Oh, so
Good
it's
call.
just ghost food tonight.
That's really good. Although
We
we
should
are
have had-
drinking, you made some sangria,
I did make sangria.
and red wine is supposed to represent something else, and it's the bloody trail of tears that Andrew Jackson made, and that's another segue into what we're going to talk about tonight, because Liberty has, as we've hinted the last two podcasts, has a ghost story.
I do. A real live ghost story that happened to me.
That's what happened.
Well, hold on, before we
first
go
off,
into it, let's-
I don't know anything because you guys have talked about the Andrew Jackson ghost
Well, now
story
you just
place.
the Andrew
I don't know.
Jackson Hotel.
Andrew
in
Jackson Hotel.
New Orleans.
Well,
New Orleans.
You already
Nolans.
said it, and we referenced it in the old one. So you guys keep talking about it, and I don't have a flippin' clue what this is about.
Well, let's
so
talk about. We can talk about the hotel first. And
I
what
like
it
that.
is. So, well, what do you know information wise about what the
School
hotel is?
me.
By the way, did you stay in it?
I stayed in it, yes.
Okay. So hold on, I'm taking a drink of my bloody Andrew Jackson. Hold on.
I like that.
that should be the name of a Bloody Mary.
The bloody.
The Bloody Andrew Jackson.
You just go Andrew Jackson, Andrew Jackson, and then a $20 bill appears in your pocket.
You have to say it 3 times, though.
Oh, well, it's inflation. It's probably have to say it 4 now. Okay, so it's in the heart of the French Quarter.
True.
And there's a hotel. And it used to be quite a few different things. It was a courthouse for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a hotel. Is it a hotel now, or is it a private residence? Somebody told me it was a private residence. but I
Well,
could be wrong.
so my happening took place probably 12, 15 years ago. I don't do math in my head very well, but a long time ago. So since then, it might be a private residence. But when I was there, obviously it was a hotel. And I've also heard that it was a boarding house, which is an important part of the story that I guess I experienced and that I'd heard about the place. For whatever that's worth.
Well, also a part of that is the fact that I guess it was they either quarantine people there through all the yellow fever that was happening during that time,
Oh.
or there was just a bunch of people there that had it. But there was a lot of death related to that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people who.
So did they die because they went there, or they just happened to die there, or what's like why is it associated with death? Like,
Well, the one occurrence that I know about the boarding school is that it was a fire, and so people died because they were there.
Oh, I
Okay.
got ahead of it. So this you're talking about the building that was there before the hotel. It was a building that was there before.
I don't think
It was built by the Spanish.
So I don't know.
And maybe it was part
No.
of there was a boarding school there, and I think
and is it the boarding school that burned down and then they built the hotel?
yeah, that's a great question. Hold on, let me see if I can look this up real quick.
You can play producer tonight.
So originally, because there were so many, here's what happened: parents were dying all the time
Mm-hmm.
because of basically it was kind of a there was like a petri dish over
Because
there.
of yellow
Petri?
fever. Or,
Petri, did I say that right?
yeah, Petrie.
Petri sounds weird. It sounds like someone's last name.
I think it.
Bob
maybe
Petrie.
it is. Maybe that's why it's called a Petri dish.
Bob
Petrie.
Petrie invented it, and he never showered, and that was the thing. It's like he never changed his underwear, and that's what started the whole thing. They needed it for a boarding school because there were so many parents who died during the whole yellow fever phase.
So was it more of like an orphanage than a boarding school?
Well, I don't know. It was a boarding school, and eventually, I guess it was turned to. This says 1974. Two fires swept through the city. The first was smaller.
1874.
The 1794. What did I
Whoa.
say? I don't know what I did. Let's see if it says on here that it says. By the way, nipping. In the description it says the fire was nipping at its heels.
Wow.
It's very descriptive.
It is.
There's not information because of this particular fire, but the second one, there was a second fire in 1794 that said to have consumed the city and all the fine structures, including the boarding school itself.
So it was the ghost of the building.
Yeah.
Now it's getting meta.
So
Can a building be a ghost?
well, I don't know.
We're all stumped.
I don't know. There's
think
a
this is
lot of
a good
weird
episode.
information on here that I'm reading more that it's just like in 1814 when General Jackson, he declared martial law all throughout New Orleans. And no one was allowed to enter the city and nobody was allowed to leave. He's a nice guy. He's
Yeah.
just a nice guy.
And I'm trying to remember, was
He
it
built the
called the
wall.
Andrew Jackson because he was there when it was a courthouse? I can't remember.
Well, it was made into a federal. We're so full of information about this thing.
TMI.
But really, we could just jump. I mean, we're just talking about the fact that it's a hotel.
With
So
a-
basically, there are a
it's
lot
named
of
after
reasons
Andrew
why this
Jackson.
place could be haunted.
Yes. Choose
Yeah.
your own adventure.
Well, and there's specific ghosts that people refer to, but before I talk about them, now we know. So, tell me about your trip. You went down there. Why'd you go?
So I went down there with my partner at the time, Jeremy, and several friends. I think there were 8 or 9 of us that went. And 2 of these friends in this group had been there many times. I think they might have gone on a yearly trip there, and they loved it. And one thing that they knew they wanted to do this time when we were going as well was stay in particular at the Andrew Jackson Hotel. And the reason they wanted to stay there was because they had heard that it was haunted, and they were, kind of into that and thought it was cool and adventurous. So we all agreed to stay in this air quote haunted hotel. So we went, and
Well, at this point, do you believe in ghosts? What are your thoughts on ghosts?
I would say at this point, I was not a skeptic. I've always been kind of intrigued with the idea and open to the idea. Growing up, I'd had those experiences where I felt like there was something around. I grew up in a town that has a very, very long history during the gold rush, and the building I grew up in even had all of these stories of people dying there. So to me, the place was haunted, and I thought it was a ghost called Old Larry. I learned in my later life when I wasn't a kid that it was actually O'Leary. Close enough. And also, as a kid, my cousins lived across the street, and my cousins and my stepbrother and I were fascinated with ghosts and spirits, and we spent an entire summer ghost hunting where we had a box, like a cardboard box, and we, those old clock radios where the antenna was just kind of a cord trailing off the bottom? Mm-hmm. So we took that cord and we stripped the end off so the wires were exposed. And then we had some cheap sort of microphone that we stripped the ends off of that and connected them, like twisted those wires together. So when we would catch a ghost, we would put the microphone to the box, and if we got feedback, that meant there was a ghost in there, naturally.
Of course.
And we would have seances and use Ouija boards and go in the bathroom and do Black Aggie and Bloody Mary, and we were convinced twice that we were going to be taken to what we called the spirit world. So one time we all stayed the night at my cousin's house, and we were waiting for a helicopter to come get us. But of course, like
That's how you would
a
go. That's a
spirit
nice way.
helicopter, not like a real one. Because where would it land? And then another time, of course it didn't come. And another time we stood in my backyard and waited for the spirit train, which also never came. But I guess you could say, in a really long-winded way, that I've always been interested, fascinated, and open to the idea.
You're receptive.
Receptive. Perfect.
Brought to you by the Tanya Thesaurus.
Love it. So anyway, I don't know. Do I keep going?
No, it's really good. It's I find that most people when I ask them, "Do you believe in ghosts?" they'll say, until you really ask them about it, they're like, "Well, yeah, I guess I've just always believed in them until I thought about it." And then they say, not that they have to think about it, then they don't. It's just one of those things you're just like, "Well, yeah, ghosts." And then you go, "Well, why do ghosts exist?" And then they go, "Oh God, I've never had to have that conversation before." It kind of boils down into religion and I don't know, like baby pigeons. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they exist or not, but
Well, yeah, all birds are fake, right?
they are.
Didn't we learn that a couple
We
episodes
did.
ago?
We did. So anyway, by at this point there are certain people that are just like, yeah, I guess there's ghosts. There's some people that are clearly like there's no such thing, and there's some people that say, I just heard some weird thing in my kitchen. That's a ghost. So
Yeah, not a mouse, definitely a ghost.
yeah. But anyway, okay, so you're going to go to New Orleans.
Yeah.
You're going to New Orleans or Nerlens.
Nolans.
Nolens,
Nolens.
however you want to say it. New Orleans,
Yeah,
however
there
you
go.
want to say it, depending how far you are away from that region.
We don't discriminate.
I think Alaskans say New Orleans.
New Orleans.
New
Orleans.
Orleans.
Like
And people from there say
Oregon.
New Orleans.
Nolans.
I say
Nolens.
Nolens.
I say New Orleans
I say New Orleans.
for whatever that's worth.
But you usually
I think I grew up saying New Orleans.
Yeah,
think
I
you
did
should-
too.
So, and then a lot of it will go to like if you're talking about the New Orleans Saints, but then you say like New Orleans. It's really another way. It's the same thing you say the Caribbean, but you say Pirates of the Caribbean.
I've heard there's a reason for the difference, but I can't remember what it is.
Disneyland.
That's helpful.
That's it. I'm
Disney-
saying it's
Disneyland is the
reason
difference.
why.
Listen.
But also, I will never say, "Hey, you want to ride the Pirates of the Caribbeans?"
Yeah, no, it's definitely the Caribbean.
They'd kick you out of the park.
Yeah, you couldn't go. Listen, if there are any listeners out there from New Orleans,
New
Nolens,
Orleans?
New Orleans,
Nolens?
give us a call.
Let us know how to say it, please.
Give us a call at 1-800 New Orleans. All right. So anyway, you're going to go down there to New
Yeah.
Orleans.
And we're going, and part of this is to this isn't the reason, of course, but we're going to specifically stay in the Andrew Jackson Hotel because it is purportedly haunted. So we get there, and there are kind of two notable things that I remember. One is I remember being there and we're checking in, and my friend, who was Kevin, who was the person who was really excited about it being haunted, asked the front desk agent, about the story of it being haunted, and they were like, we have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, they denied it. And the whole time, we were there for a few days, the whole time, anytime we asked anyone on the staff, they would basically just play dumb. But one night we did, like a haunted walking tour and stopped in front of the Andrew Jackson Hotel where they told us, this story. So, do you want to know the story that I...
Yes.
Well, I want to say something.
I want to know because
I do want to know the
I
story.
don't have any clue what is any about this.
I want to know one thing, though. I stayed at the Silver Queen in Virginia City, and everybody says it's one of the most haunted places in the world. It's the most haunted place and whatever. And this is what they're saying, the Silver Queen, Virginia City. And when you ask the girl about it, and that was working at the desk, she said, I don't know anything about that. Like, she didn't know anything about it. And I thought, well, wait a minute. Like, people are ghost hunters walk in here all day long. I watched it. They filmed freaking like the very first Ghost Adventures there.
I think part of it is they hear that question 87,000 times a day and are tired of answering it, so they just default to I don't know what you're talking about.
That must be it. That has
I mean,
to be
That could be it.
Because you're like, oh yeah, it's haunted. Then people want to know more, and then people want to know more. And it's like, oh my
And then
god,
it's
please just
20
stop
minutes.
asking me questions.
Yeah,
It's just easier to say, I don't know.
I could see that. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
how
it
often has someone asked you something that you knew the answers to, but you're just like, God, this is gonna open a bag of worms. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. So that could be it. They're just like, oh, here comes another dumb tourist. Not that you were a dumb tourist, but come on.
But that's
you
how they
looked
saw
like
me.
Yeah.
I was probably wearing like a dumb hat or
You
something.
probably walked in and go, are there any ghosts here in New Orleans?
Right, and I said ghostesses, so they were like, dismiss.
Ghosts or ghostesses.
Right. There's different genders, apparently.
I don't assume you're ghost gender, but... All right, so anyway,
Yeah,
you
okay.
asked. So talk about the ghost tour.
Yeah, so the story that we heard, and I'd heard a tiny bit of this from my friend Kevin who wanted to go there before we went, but the story that we heard on this tour was that at one point in time, kind of like we discussed, this building had been, or property, had been a boarding house, specifically for boys, is what I kind of remember. And one of the boys that was in this boarding house was named Armand. And he died tragically in the boarding house. And it's been a while, like I said, so I can't remember which version they said in this ghost tour. I've heard two. One is he died in a fire, along with a few other kids, tragically. And the other version that I heard was that he was picked on by other boys in the boarding house, essentially bullied, and this went on for a long time, and there was an occurrence where he was either pushed or fell over the railing on the second story into the courtyard below. So the building is shaped, imagine a U, only it's square. Does that make sense? You know what I mean. How do you... Bill's laughing at me.
Just like a U, but square. I get
You
it.
know
I get
that.
it, but like, no, I get it.
Yeah. So the building is shaped that way. and
That's like
it's-
this building shape, the one I live in now.
Yeah.
It's like a U, but square.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's got a little courthouse in the thing.
In the middle.
I'm
yeah.
in the bottom of the U, looking north. I'm the top. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm
So-
hijacking, but I
so
get
the-
it. A square U.
The Andrew Jackson has two stories, and obviously the second story, all of the doors to the rooms opened to a walkway that was outside, and a railing, and if you looked down, there was a courtyard in the middle. So one of the versions that I remember hearing was that Armand had fallen to his death in the courtyard. So, yeah, that's the story I heard. Going into it. Oh, and one other detail I remember about this story specifically was that the room that he occupied when he was living there was now or had become room 208. And that's easy to remember because Idaho, 208. And that's kind of a key part of the story.
That's right. Room
Yeah, yeah,
208 is referred to as the haunted room.
Yeah,
Did you find it?
I had already pulled that up. It says, room 208, the haunted room. You might be looking at the same thing I'm looking at. Because there's two things that and we're getting ahead of ourselves, so we can be, because there's three ghosts. There's three ghostly stories that they make reference to.
Oh, I think I only know about Armand.
But
His
beyond
horrific death is tied to either he was thrown from the second floor balcony or launched himself off the balcony committing suicide. So it could have been one or the other.
Second story balcony, you could. How do you die?
It depends on how you land.
But the courtyard was concrete, right? And if you are, I don't know how old he was, but in my mind, he's between, 7 and 10.
And you're super resilient at that point. You could bounce back up and land on it. I mean.
Oh, I was going to say the opposite. You're little, and so you.
No, you're not. No, kids. Have you seen kids like
True.
the stuff? Imagine.
It says he's giggly and has like whenever they see them, there's giggling and laughter. So it sounds like kind of a younger kid because older kids are angsty and.
All right.
Bitter.
So anyway,
Interesting.
so you hear the story
Yeah, okay.
and the whole room 208. Are you
Yeah.
going to tell me you slept in room 208?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. We checked in, and there are, like I said, like 8 of us in probably 4 different rooms or 5. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And we're kind of spread all over the property. We're not like, in rooms next to each other. And so when Jeremy and I, my partner, are walking to our room, we go up to the second story. We're walking along the little outdoor corridor, and we pass room 210, and we pass room 209, and then as we pass the next door, the numbers that had been on there, those kind that you kind of screw onto the door so they're 3D, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
They were gone, but there had been paint buildup from whatever along the years, and so you could clearly see the outline where it used to say 208, and now it had a little sticker that said, I don't know.
207 and a half.
Yeah. It said private access or employees only or something like that. And then, of course, the room that we were in was 207. So we have a wall adjacent to the most haunted room in the property, which we didn't really know at the time. We just knew that it was haunted.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt real quick because there's two things I want to bring up. First of all, we do have food here, and it's very related to what we're doing because you brought, what did you bring?
I brought yellow watermelon.
Which is because Andrew Jackson was freaking yellow coward. The guy was just a really...
I was wondering how this
He was a
really-
horrible, horrible person. And during this conversation, I did look something up. The building that was the boarding house was not the building that you stayed in. That was demolished
So it was just the
in
property.
the early 1900s because Andrew Jackson had such a history there, not all good. They built a hotel and just named it after him.
So it was basically like Poltergeist, where the property is haunted.
Yeah, and he died. I mean, he died in like 1844 or something like that. That's when Andrew Jackson died. In the early 1900s, they built that hotel and built it in his honor. Because at that point, you kind of forget that he was a bad guy because you have to go on the school level of learning about a president.
And he's on the $20 bill.
Doll-haired
Da-la-la-la.
Bill. Yeah. And for now, hopefully that's taken care of soon.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, he so he never stayed in that hotel.
Okay, that's what
He
I was.
died well before it was
trying to remember.
born. And the other part of that is none of the stuff that people make reference to of like when that was a boarding house, stuff like that, was actually in that building. So
Like
now,
room 208 and whatever. That does make sense, though, because I feel like if I'd stayed in a hotel that was built in the 1700s, that would have been memorable.
Yeah.
It was definitely an old building.
But obviously modernized.
A little.
You've been out east though. When you stay out, you find a place that was built like in the Revolutionary War. This
Yeah.
sounds like it's
Well, I've been to
gorgeous.
a
It's
lot of
amazing.
places like that are this kind of recently that really were built in the 1700s, and you can tell like it's a lot of upkeep to keep those places just from falling apart.
Yeah, but they're going to
Yeah.
last forever. And then you have a house that was built in like 1982, and the plumbing explodes. And
Yeah,
they have to
it's
tear it down.
in pieces.
So,
Shingles are falling off.
yeah, nice job. All right. So anyway, you
Hooray for modern
are-
marvels.
Yay! I know it's really funny because like I live in a 100-year-old building, and this building's not
Oh,
going
yeah.
anywhere. Other than the fact that my floor creaks,
It's bad,
it's
But-
really creaky. And just
but
recently,
you're never gonna get snuck up on by a burglar.
that is correct.
It's
And
a security system.
But
Free
the
of
good
charge.
news is I'm on the 5th floor of a 6-story building. The people that live above me
Our ghosts.
have a toddler. And
Oh,
I've been
no.
hearing that thing run. Oh, my God.
That
kid's
thing.
been running. All right. So anyway, back to this. So you're in the room.
Yeah, okay, so we are...
You're in 207.
We're staying in room 207, and the story is that room 208 is the most haunted. And it's also, when we were there at least, not rented, whatever. Guests are not occupied. Guests are not allowed to stay there. So
You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Someone guitar solo.
exactly.
Okay, there we go. That was great.
Yeah.
That wasn't even close, but go.
We'll have to look it up. Anyway, so we had known about the 208 story, but we didn't really know a lot more than that. And we were there, like I said, for several days. And for the first couple days, nothing really notable happened, except that occasionally we would go back to the room after being out, most of the day or whatever, and I would notice that the drawers in the dresser or bureau, or however you say that,
Schiffer robe.
chifforobe, would be slightly ajar, but it wasn't a jar, it was a dresser. Ba-dum-bum. Stupid joke. Anyway.
Yeah, it was
But
bad.
I always thought, I don't know why I didn't think anything of it. I just didn't. I thought, like, oh, the maids were dusting and didn't close the drawer.
Because they were dusting inside the drawer.
I know. Logically, now that I think back, it didn't make a lot of sense, but then it just didn't register as anything interesting. And I do remember one of our friends that was on this trip with us, Rachel, saying that she'd left the room and left the light on. I can't remember on or off. Let's say on.
Well,
like
then she's a
purposely.
bad person.
No, well, I think she left it on because we were leaving. It was going to be dark when we came back, and she was by herself. And, it just makes you feel a little better, especially if the lamp is, like, across the room or whatever. Anyway, so she left the room with the light lamp on and returned to the room.
It's
Lamp, the French version.
Lamp.
And returned to the room, and it was off. And it wasn't like a power outage or anything like that. This
And
was
it could have been the manager going like, "God damn, chick, left this light on. I'm gonna go there and turn it off."
maybe. But if that's the case, that's also creepy because some manager person went into your room while you were not there.
I'm gonna turn this light off and dig through a panty drawer.
I mean,
That will
Exactly.
trigger us.
could it have been
Like,
the
use your soap.
housekeeping people just cleaning things, and just like gone into a room, but not? It was maybe they had already cleaned it, but it hadn't been marked on the schedule, and so they go in, they're like, oh, it's already done, and just turn the light off.
That could be.
I mean, there's so many things.
Yeah, there are a lot
but
of things that
there's-
could have been.
Anyway, continue your story.
But, like, that was the only kind of ghostly thing that had happened to any of us that we realized at the time until
Dun
Dun,
dun dun dun.
the last night that we were there, of course, because
Because
I don't
if
know.
it happened
The
afterwards,
ghosts
then
are like,
you wouldn't
"Oh,
have seen
yeah,
it.
the ghosts are checking
True.
out. The
And
ghosts
ghosts,
they're checking out. So
they
the
have
ghosts-
really good timing. I've heard.
and they want to get.
They
tipped.
like to put on a show. Like
Which
they
is-
want to bring in business. I mean, they're
So,
probably
and
hired help.
We've had this conversation. We just had this conversation Saturday with our friend Mike about tipping in a hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Do you tip? Like I really, my whole life is just. I just wonder like who I'm supposed to tip. That's my whole life.
I do too.
I don't know. Like sometimes you're like, I get so freaked out in a situation because I think, am I supposed to tip this person? All right. So with that, do you tip a ghost? if you're in a hotel, do you tip if you stay there 3 nights? Do you tip housekeeping?
Yeah.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
all right,
especially if there's one of those tip
If
envelopes
they, yeah,
out.
well,
Yeah.
if they come
Well,
in
If there
that's
and
isn't,
clean,
like-
it feels weird because I'm like, I'm just gonna leave some money on the table.
Yeah.
That
I
feels
put it under the
awkward.
pillow
Oh, that's cute.
because they're supposed to change the sheets anyway.
Oh, smart. So, listen, everyone. If you ever go to a hotel and there's money under the pillow, don't sleep in the bed.
Exactly. Ooh, what we
That's
should do
amazing.
is leave it under the bed because they're supposed to clean everything. And if it's still under the bed,
Well, then
that
only
means
the
it didn't
monsters
clean.
are going to get it. The under the bed monsters. The boogeyman's going to get it. All right. So So going back to this, do you tip a ghost? I guess we'll just know. What do you tip? How do you tip a ghost?
Do you just give it advice?
Do you give it part of your soul?
Like a life tip?
They live off your energy. They feed off your energy. So you just give it a little energy. You just run in place and go, "Hey, have some of this."
I've never thought about it, but I think from now on I will tip ghosts.
Well,
You do some
but
jumping
what
jacks
kind
before
of
you leave
energy?
and go,
Yeah.
"Hey, get some."
Is
of
it
this."
positive energy? Is it negative energy?
Yeah.
It depends on the
because-
ghost.
I mean, and exactly, like, you don't know what kind of ghost you're tipping.
Well, if it's a little
So
boy
if
ghost.
if they go off of positive energy, then you want something uplifting and good. But if they go off negative energy, then you want something scary. So maybe you just say like, "Hey, ghost, I'm gonna watch a scary comedy. This is for you."
For you.
Hey, then you should watch my movie, Ghostumentary, that's on Amazon Prime because it's funny and real.
That was not an intentional plug for me, but
Amazon Prime and watch
took advantage.
starring me. All right. So anyway, all right. So last night you're there.
Yes. So we're there last night, and, of course, we are going to go out on the town in the French Quarter and drink some drinks and have some fun, whatever.
Show your
So
boobs for beads. Yeah.
I don't think we got quite that far, but I do remember buying a really weird cowboy hat that had the American flag pattern all over it.
Oh,
Because Liberty.
So you did say New Orleans in
Probably.
that hat.
I think until I was corrected.
woo, New Orleans.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're like, here's my boobs. Like, man, this is a church.
The one place I accidentally showed my boobs. So anyway, we go out and we're, having fun, drinking our hurricanes or whatever. And Jeremy, who is really a responsible and pretty light drinker, gets kind of inebriated, we'll say. More than I think anyone expected, especially him. So he and I decide, or maybe just me, decide that we're going to split from the group and go back to the room. And, everyone else is going to stay out and have their fun on the last night. So we go back to the room, and it's not early. It's probably 11 o'clock, so it's dark. And we go back to the room, and we get there. I don't remember if the doors were That was hard. Going back.
The doors are
A gape?
An open.
Or ajar.
An open.
The drawers. Anyway, that was a dumb segue. So we get back to the room, and Jeremy realizes he's not feeling well, so he goes into the bathroom, and I'm sitting on the bed, just, I guess, kind of patiently, I don't know, or impatiently. And the headboard of the bed is up against the wall that would be shared with room 208 / haunted room. So I'm sitting there kind of waiting. I don't know what I was doing. And I start to hear what sounds to me like a kid crying. And it's not super loud or noticeable, but I feel like I'm hearing something. And so I remember saying to Jeremy, "Hey, do you hear that?" And at that time, he was not really in a position to answer.
Because he was crying.
Yeah, for a different reason. So I'm sitting there, and as time progresses, and it's not a lot of time, but the crying becomes louder and more frequent. And eventually, as I'm sitting there, I'm certain this is coming from room 208. Like, there's nowhere else it could have been coming from. It's not outside. There's no one above us.
What kind of crying? It's just like,
Well, it started out pretty mild like that, but by the end of it, or what I consider the end of it, it was wailing. Like, enough that I still get goosebumps when I talk about it, and it was scary and really sad. Like, whoever this person that was crying was sad.
I got goosebumps just now.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I felt it. I mean, I don't believe in ghosts, but I am an empath in regards to literal just energy and people's emotions. And Bill has even noticed it where it's like, what did you think of so and so? And it being someone that I didn't know very well, be like, I felt this way. And he would be like, oh, it's because that person feels that way. And me being that empath, like I completely felt your energy. I'm covered in goosebumps. So like I know exactly what you're feeling right now.
and this is 15 maybe plus years later that I talk about it, and still I'm like creeped out. You didn't see it, but I just kind of shivered. Anyway,
It was very dramatic.
thank you.
No, I saw it. I was gonna have Tanya inspect you for goosebumps, but
Oh, they're gone now. But
talk
if they
about it
come
again.
back,
Okay,
I'll
so
shove my arm out.
So then there was crying in the room next door.
Yeah, so there's legit wailing, and it's loud. And at this point, Jeremy hears them and notices, and he's still in the bathroom, but he's in there saying, "Shut up, stupid ghosts." And I don't know or remember why he decided it was ghosts, if it was me that suggested it to him, like, do you think that's a ghost? Or if he just went there on his
Maybe
own.
he's insightful too. Maybe he knows. He can
Right.
hear a ghost crying. He knows. Well, that's a ghost because I have a 6th, 7th crying sense.
A sixth sense if he's in the bathroom having
It's-
had too many.
By the way, was he
Ah,
throwing
good.
up in there? What was he doing in the bathroom? Was he going to the bathroom? Was he vomiting? What was he?
I think he was, being ready in case he needed to vomit.
The
Yeah.
old, I'm just gonna hang out here with my arm over the
And,
toilet.
lay on the
But
floor.
honestly, to be aware of anything outside of that feeling
When you're in that state.
is kind of surprising, because when you are in a bathroom, like I am about to throw up, you don't think about anything else.
Well,
outside
that's
of
not true.
that.
That's probably some of the most awareness that you have in your entire life.
But I think
because
it's, personal
you know
awareness.
you're going, A, man, I drank too much. B, I'm about to throw up. C, I can't sit up on my own, so I need to lean against something.
But
You-
to yell at a ghost
Right. To me, I don't know why.
while
that's
you're
so-
in that state.
Yeah.
No, that's really.
And it sticks out so much and is so significant in my memory, I think probably for that reason, that like he could, I look at the wall, could hear this
There's only
this
three of us-
sound.
There's only 3 of us here. There's nobody there. Do you see a ghost on the wall?
Not yet.
I
We'll
mean,
see what
we're-
happens,
We're
Armand.
just staring at some skulls.
True.
so.
It could happen. So anyway, yeah. Wailing is happening. And I don't know why, except I guess if anyone imagines the sound of a kid crying versus an adult crying, you just know this is a kid and it was a boy. So I'm starting to get kind of freaked out. And, as this whole thing is happening, the kind of whimpering and turning into the wailing, I'm getting more and more freaked out. I'm essentially alone because, God love him, Jeremy is there, but he's not there. And so I start,
And what's your level? Where are you at?
this point,
Yeah,
I'm like near panic level.
but
Are you
inebriation level.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't that inebriated, really. I had the wherewithal to know we need to go back to the room, take us
So
back
you were
to the
fairly
room.
cognizant. I mean,
Yeah.
you could function.
I mean, in my memory, I was, I'd had one half of a hurricane. I don't even know what that means.
Which is
What-
the equivalent of 4 normal drinks.
Yeah, what is that? I don't know what a hurricane is.
A hurricane is, I don't know, I'm sure it exists in other places, but in the French Quarter, it's like a blended drink, like a frozen margarita type drink with, I don't even know, rum and all the other things in it. And they serve it in these like foot long, maybe 2 foot long plastic tube container things
Oh, and that's why
that you
should
can
use.
then walk down the street in your hand drinking this thing because the
So
open
it's like Vegas.
containerizer.
Yeah.
It's like Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to saying things regionally,
Yeah.
there is a town in Utah that's spelt hurricane, but it's pronounced Hurricane. And if you go south past it, there's a town called Laverkin. It's Hurricane and Laverkin. You think I'm making
Are they
this up, right?
brothers?
And then you go past that, it's Kanab. But it's past, if you're just north of St. George, you go down there, it's Hurricane, Laverkin, Kanab.
It's
Those are the
blowing
three
my
towns.
mind.
And then
Well,
you
it's
go
like
past that. you're in the
Moscow
Grand-
and Moscow.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, every place has their Rodeo Drive and Rodeo Drive.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
like,
Well-
I'm going down to the rodeo tonight
The
with my
rodeo.
cowboy hat.
I'm gonna go shop on Rodeo Drive. And isn't Soho in New York is nicknamed that because it's South Houston or south of Houston,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but how and ho aren't the same
Well,
sound.
so it's
Why
the same
isn't
thing.
it
It's like when I lived in LA,
Soho?
Soho?
and they had like NoHo, which was North
Well,
Hollywood.
and now in Boise
True.
there's
Which is-
Bodo,
Bodo, which is Boise down.
which would be
down.
Boy.
Yeah,
Dow.
But see,
Dow.
when they say North Hollywood NoHo, they were like, "Oh, we're in the NoHo area." It's the Valley. It's not Hollywood. So stop calling it that. So sorry, I don't want to get on a tangent on that. It's the same time when people go, they go when they go like, "Yeah, I'm going to LA this weekend." I go, "Where?" They go, "Oh, Riverside." Yeah, it's not
Anaheim.
LA. Or they even Disneyland's not LA. Stop. It's
San Diego.
It's Orange County. Just shut up.
Flying
All
into the
right.
John Wayne.
As we
Yeah,
diverge.
exactly. Yeah, the John Wayne Airport. Did
That
you-
means it's
I
LA.
mean, listen, barely if you fly into Burbank, or I'll give you Long Beach, that you flew into Long Beach, but don't tell me you flew into John Wayne and you're going into LA this weekend.
In
No.
my
You know what?
experience,
'Cause
You're
it's
going
in
to
Anaheim.
Laguna.
there's nothing scarier than LA or California traffic in general. But what might come a close second is the rest of this story.
Ooh, good.
Okay, go.
Segue.
Brilliant segue. Okay, so where am I? Oh yeah,
That was a good
I'm
segue. That was
freaked
really good.
out. I'm like
You're hearing
9
crying.
out of 10 panic scale, and so I start calling the rooms of all of our friends because I don't know. Back in that day,
How close were they staying to, guys? Like, were you like with like a few rooms away from each other? Are you on separate floors?
no, I mean I remember Rachel being on the bottom floor, and our friends Don and Lorraine were kind of on the other part of the U inside.
So there
We
was
were
like a
not close.
107 and like a 228. and
Yes.
just like nothing near.
Exactly. It wasn't like
207.
I could go next door or 2 doors down, or I felt like I couldn't leave the room. I didn't want to leave Jeremy, and I was freaked out to just leave. But it wasn't anywhere close enough that I felt like I could go knock on the door. So I started calling all of them, their room numbers. You know, I'd be like, boop, 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 and it would ring and ring and ring. They wouldn't answer.
You should have called room 208.
But they weren't there
Why
because you
didn't I
left.
do that? What am I? I'm
should
such a
have.
dummy. Bill.
You pick it up and you're still crying.
I wish I could rewind time and do that.
If I could turn back time.
Woo!
That was
Funny.
good.
That was it. Yeah. That was
But
good.
then, like, would Armand answer and be like, "Hello"?
Help me.
Oh my god, that would have been worse.
Balcony.
That's probably why I didn't.
Andrew Jackson here.
Hello, how can I help you? Where can I patch you through, miss?
That would have. Yeah, I would have run screaming. Anyway, so I'm calling the rooms that my friends are staying in, and it was like, you know, back in the day when you would call a radio station, or maybe now, because you wanted to be the contest winner, and so you would dial, get a busy signal, dial again, busy signal, dial again. I was basically doing that.
Long time ghost believer, first time caller.
Exactly. Welcome, caller number 9. You're
Hey,
the winner.
The wacky ghost show. What's your
Your
name?
color 666.
Yeah. What's
Whoa.
your favorite haunted room number? Anyway, so I was calling all of the rooms, not getting an answer. I can't. Here's part of the story that I don't remember super clearly. I don't know if I called all of their cell phones, if they all had cell phones at that point. I know at least Kevin did, because I called his cell phone, but he didn't answer, and I left some sort of frantic message. But basically, I couldn't get a hold of anyone.
Do you have any idea what kind of message you left? Like, what did you? Do you remember all what you would have said?
I don't, but I do remember what I said when I finally did see one of them. So I'll get to that. Because it's good. Or not. So no one is available. I can't leave the room. Plus, I'm afraid to leave the room because, I don't know, what if Armand is like standing at the door about ready to knock or something? So finally, I hear a knock at the door, which, of course, like makes me jump and freaks me out. But I go to answer the door, and it's Kevin and his wife, my friend Angela. And Kevin's like, Lib, what's wrong? Oh my gosh, why were you calling so much? And I was like, like I couldn't even talk because at that point I was so just like, I don't know what the word is.
Hysterical?
Thank you.
That's the word I was.
I
gonna
was just
use.
doing a hand signal.
Brought to you by the Tanya Thesaurus.
Very good. You need to really write that. And it's just like Liberty making hand signals, and then you describe what they are.
I'm no dictionary doctor, but I like to come up with other words.
That was good. But bump for all you longtime listeners. Hope you caught that.
First time callers.
Anyway, so they come to the door, and I just basically like bust into tears, can barely speak, but explain, like, he's crying, and here's one thing that's kind of interesting to me. I remember this story or this occurrence so clearly. I can picture almost every part of it very clearly in my mind. I can picture what the room looked like and the courtyard and the hotel and the sensation of this experience. But what I can't remember is once Kevin and Angela got there, if he was still crying. I feel like no, because it doesn't seem like it was a shared story. But I could be wrong.
You're still friends with these people?
I mean, yeah, to a degree. I haven't really seen him for a while. We kind of grew apart, but
If needed, you could probably reach out to them and say,
Oh.
hey, remember the crying?
absolutely. And I bet I could reach out to Jeremy and be like, hey, do you remember that one time you yelled at ghosts?
That would actually be really interesting.
I totally wanted to do that today, and
I always love when
Didn't.
an ex reaches out to me and they go, hey, remember that time you were
You
Remember
yelled.
all the crying and the yelling and the screaming?
Remember when you were puking?
No,
but we
it
heard
was,
that
it was
ghost?
ghost related, but
Well, listen, I'm going to
And
reach
by the way, you
out.
still owe me $300. So from that trip, so whatever.
I'm going to reach out to Kevin and Angela and Jeremy, and we'll do a follow-up. Like Stump the
Yeah,
Chump.
I want to know what their thoughts are
Yeah.
on the whole.
I'm
ghost
sorry I don't
thing.
have them here.
Well, it would just be awkward
it might be.
having an ex here. You guys sit next to each other, like you guys pretend like you still like each other. Hey, why'd you guys break up? That's a great
No.
question to ask two ex
We
when
could
they're right next to
totally-
each other and go, "Hey, why'd you guys break up?" That's always a great question.
I don't think
to
it would
ask.
be awkward. I mean, beyond the fact that we haven't seen each other in a long time.
And
but
they go, you know what they always say?
anyway.
The sex. It's like you have this look of shock in your face. Like, what?
All right,
okay,
well,
so
yeah, okay. So
they get there.
they get there. I burst into tears. I unload. I think that I was so hysterical, to quote Tanya Thesaurus,
She's playing with a basil plant right now, though.
That
she's very
I
occupied.
kind of not blacked out, but there's a period of time between when they showed up at the door and then like trying to go to sleep that I don't remember what happened. eventually, they left, and we tried to, sleep because we had to leave early the next day. Sleep in air quotes. Or early in air quotes? I'm not sure. I don't know why I said that. Sometimes the joke is super funny in my head, and then I say it, and I'm like, why?
It was suggestive. Bill made air quotes.
When
It
you
was
said sleep,
completely
I did air
suggestive.
quotes. Go ahead. All right,
Anyway,
you're sleepy.
But
Moving
this is
on.
true. I actually didn't sleep very well or at all because
Hell, I wouldn't either.
There was a ghost.
8-year-old ghost next to you crying.
You
Yeah.
experienced something.
exactly. And
He
I
just
was
wanted a ghost
like,
hug.
waiting for him to like crawl in bed with us or pull the covers
Just like
or
open doors, like.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That exact
And that
sound.
was another thing I do remember hearing before we went, stories that people had experienced. They'd heard kids laughing in the courtyard. They'd had experiences where their covers would be pulled off of them, or the water would turn on and off. All of those things that you see in the ghost hunter shows / movies. But that was enough to build up the expectation for me that was what was next, or that I would like look at the edge of the bed and see this tiny 8-year-old boy in this boarding school uniform, whatever that looks like, but has gold buttons definitely, and it's blue. But
Does
he
he
would
have dark
be there.
hair?
Oh no, to me
Why
he
are
was
you?
blonde.
Why do you give us a detailed description?
No, like
of the-
because everyone. I pictured Armand in the same uniform, but he has dark hair,
Interesting.
and you pictured it with blonde.
Yeah, because I just
Everyone just creates a mental picture of
Yeah,
this
and-
character.
And I think especially for me, I created a mental picture of what I expected to see if I opened my eyes right then and there, which is why I probably didn't open my eyes
Which
until
I-
3 days later.
So I haven't a question on top of that, because I mean I do the same thing, like especially like reading novels and anything. You mentally create a picture of somebody as you're kind of putting together the descriptions of yourself. It's like they behave this way, they act this way, they react this way. They don't give you a lot of description of the person, so you physically give them a description. So you pictured an 8-year-old kind of blonde kid.
Mm-hmm.
What
dirty
if
blonde.
it was a, let's just say, 17-year-old dark-skinned, dark-haired kid?
Like that is the apparition that appeared to me.
That is the real
then I
Armand.
would have probably thought it was just a different ghost, a second boy
Which is so
there
weird,
to like
because like
push
if
me off the balcony.
if you had experienced the one you had envisioned, you would just assume that was that person.
which
yeah.
actually goes back to the whole thing that we see with our brains and not our eyes. And if we
Exactly.
envision a specific thing, that's what we tend to think we're going to see. You dream about that or see that or envision that even the same time you're on the phone with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody calls you have no idea what they look like. You hear their voice, you hear their tone, inflection. Immediately you think that they're that. They look like that.
You
person.
create.
Yeah.
You paint a picture in your head.
Yeah,
It could be a
you-
specific accent, and you hear that person. You could be a way they say a certain word, and you see that. And I think that also translates to the way they see. When people go like, "Oh, I saw a girl, and she was in a 17th century dress, and she was churning butter, and she was." Well, why do you think that? Because she probably was wearing a 17th
And it was
century
Plymouth Rock.
dress, and she probably was churning butter.
But do you really think it was 17th century, or is that what you think what 17th century people dressed like because you don't know?
It's like when we
I
see
think-
pilgrims, we all think that they actually dress like the way we cut them out in 5th grade.
Yeah,
And made
yeah.
little cutouts that they
Or
actually
like the
look that.
aprons and
Yeah.
Yeah.
totally. I think
And the big hat and the belkle.
yeah, exactly, and turkeys, of course, made out of our handprints.
Yes.
But I think
These look like they look like hands. They're so weird.
weird. But I think Tanya, what you said is probably very accurate. The vision that I had in my head was shaped very much by the couple of stories that I'd heard and probably a photo or two I'd seen of probably not even the right time period, but something that was, and I apologize for saying this, but quote, oldie-timey boys in some sort of uniform. And so that's what formed in my head. I remember, this is super unrelated / related, I listened to NPR and Boise State Public Radio plug. No, it wasn't a plug. Why did I say that? Going back.
Because it's a plug.
Anyway, so
But listen now.
I listened to NPR, and for years they had a host on a specific program who I had a very, very clear picture in my mind of exactly what he looked like. And then years later, when I finally saw an actual photo of him, I was like, no, that is an imposter. That is not him.
I've had the same exact experience with a comedian that I had only ever heard but never seen. And I had this entirely mental picture of this guy. And the first time I saw him, I was like, oh my God, that's what he looks like? It could not be any further than what I had imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me with the guy that did the voice for He-Man. Because when I was a kid and I saw like the guy that did the voice for He-Man, it actually ruined He-Man for me. And listen,
like He-Man and She-Ra?
Yeah, the whole.
I watched that cartoon.
I wasn't allowed
if you
to.
If you want to use the Google and find out what the
Google
guy,
that up on YouTube.
Google it on. Use the Google or the Google. Depending
Google.
where you're
the
from.
Google.
Depending where you're from. But if you look up the guy, like when I first saw an interview with the guy, like did the voice for He-Man, I'm like, well, there goes my youth.
But on the other spectrum, now that we're on that, the guy that voiced Bambi was a World War vet.
That was a boy.
It was a man.
Well, yeah, man.
I can't remember. It was the First or Second World War. I don't remember. I would assume second because of when everything was coming out. But he was in one of the world wars, and he voiced Bambi.
That's kind of amazing. I'm immediately going to Google the voice actor for He-Man and Bambi. What? No.
Yeah,
Bill, just show me.
I just used the Google.
All right, we'll show you the image of the He-Man voice actor, which props to voice actors.
Right?
They build a lot of beautiful stories and we never see.
Well, there's a reason why though. They're voice actors. Like
because they have good
it's
voices.
the old
It's
face for radio.
No, it's like he's got exactly. He's got a face for radio. But
well, and Bart Simpson
is a woman.
Right? I remember also the first time I saw a musical, like at the big theater in town at the Morrison Center, the woman singing the lead role, I thought her voice was so good that it couldn't be real. Like, just wasn't real. I don't know what I thought it would be because who would sing it or how, but it was so good that I was like, that's fake.
Okay, with that, I'm bringing it back in.
Okay.
This is usually
Anyway.
Tanya does this.
Okay, I'll tell you later.
The Room.
I'm gonna get a towel really fast.
Tanya just spilled water. Okay, so
Yeah.
they next day or it's that
yeah.
night.
Didn't
everyone's
sleep.
there. Didn't sleep.
Super
You wake up
scared. I
next
was gonna
day.
see a boy ghost at the end of the bed wearing.
You did or did not?
No, I didn't.
But you expected.
But I
any
probably
second.
didn't open my eyes at
But
all.
you kind of thought if it happened, you would have expected it.
Yes, it's very possible. I'm just adding this. I'm making it up. If I had been brave enough to open my eyes, maybe I would have. We'll never know.
But here's the question: why would it be in your room and not 208?
I don't know.
Looking for companionship.
Because he heard Jeremy calling him names.
By the way, you know what we should talk about in the next podcast? Why are we so fucking scared of ghosts?
And
Why are we-
spiders.
Well, spiders are the one, but ghosts like
No,
that
but
really
you're
should
right.
I understand
Why?
why I'm afraid
I-
of spiders. I've been bit by spiders. It fucking hurts.
I
be. Why are we afraid of ghosts?
that's
Why?
brilliant.
That's our next podcast. We're going to talk about that. Listen to the next podcast.
It's because it's something that is unknown and not understood. People are terrified of things they don't understand.
Yeah, but I eat tiramisu, and I have no idea how it's made.
I am terrified of quantum physics.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so anyway, so you go to sleep, you wake up next day.
Wake up next day and we leave. I mean, not because of what happened, but because it's time to leave, and I think we went to
Because
like
it's checkout
Florida.
time, and their dicks
Yeah,
are like,
and they're like,
"Oh,
get
Checkout
out
time's
of the
at
room.
10:30.
Yeah, I know it
Right.
was stupid like that,
too early.
especially
I
in
think
New Orleans.
this is my favorite thing. Checkout time's at 10, but you can't check into the room at 4.
Yeah,
Come on.
that doesn't make sense. That don't make no sense.
Yeah.
Also,
ain't nobody got time for
if
that.
you are in Nolens, New
New
Orleans,
New
Why-
Orleans.
why isn't the checkout time like 2 p.m.?
It should be.
Let's be honest, folks.
That and Vegas too should be that way for
True.
Vegas.
Agreed.
If you're staying in like Waka Waka, Wisconsin or something like
or like
yeah.
Salt Lake.
Yeah, Salt
Waka
Lake
Waka,
exactly.
you mean Walla Walla?
That's in Washington.
Oh,
that's
that's
in
right.
Wisconsin.
Oh, I like Waka Waka.
Uh,
or two,
like-
That's like-
Eclair or whatever it is in Wisconsin. I don't know. I've been there.
Wisconsin.
Washa, Wisconsin. I don't know. There's
Cheese
places.
Factory, Wisconsin.
Or let's just say like
Oh, jeez.
Nick Knock, Nebraska.
Nick
Okay.
Knock.
You're like, hey, I
Done.
stayed up really. I was pretty late at the
I
bingo
went
game.
to bed at like
But
9.
no, like you're in New Orleans.
Yeah.
You want to sleep. No one's gonna like. Well, it's 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday.
But
I think
to
I'll wake
that
up.
point, like, why
Look at
why
these
are
beads on my
people
neck.
hearing this at 2:30 in the afternoon?
The ghosts?
Oh, this goes
Like,
back
why
to
isn't
our...
it happening when you check in?
Right.
Why isn't it happening like, oh, we're getting ready to go for dinner. It's 7, and an hour ago I heard a kid screaming next door that is empty, and it's 5:30. Why is that not a thing?
Ghosts
I think
at
it's because the
night.
ghosts know
Do
that
they
we're
have
not
like
in
a
our
curfew?
rooms. They have a curfew.
They can only be
Yeah.
present from like this time to this
Well, there is
time?
one aspect though. That's when the hotel's the quietest in the middle of the
True.
night.
You
The
can
hotel
hear
is
them.
the quietest in the middle of the night. And do you think
actually,
ghosts have watches?
part of the time is when hotels are the quietest is between 4 and 1 a.m.
Really?
Yeah.
That
You don't
makes
think
In
at
my
3 a.m.?
experience, because I've been in a lot of hotels at a lot of
Yeah, but
different
you're
hours.
already sleeping after 1.
I
You personally could have slept through ghosts crying in a room.
I
next to you.
probably have. I have probably slept through a ghost crying and wailing at the top of its lungs. But I'm a light sleeper.
How
I'm a
great would it be
Very light sleeper.
if I keep pounding on the roof because I hear a little kid running on the roof above me,
and there's no one there.
and then I complain
Nobody
to property
lives there.
management. They're like, "There's no one in that room."
There hasn't been
Ah! Yeah.
there hasn't been anyone in that room for 50,000 years.
Except for the Cyclops or the Centaur that used
the
to live.
centaur.
The Centaur that used to live above me. But anyway, all right.
No, there were bowling centaurs that used to
Yeah.
live up there.
Who were very big into feng shui. They're like,
Yes.
it's 3 a.m. What if we move this couch over to this side of the house?
I've had
I
bowling
wish I was
centaurs
kidding.
that lived above me,
Yeah.
and also vacuuming centaurs.
Yeah.
See, I
OCD
feel
centaur.
guilty because I am the dishwashing ghost that happens at 8:30 a.m.
That's how you know you're being haunted by Tanya. Dishes.
The
It's
dishes,
because like I wake up, and for
And
some
your
reason
desk
I
starts
I,
getting
I I do the
organized.
dishes from the night before, and I run everything first thing in the morning. I like
Weird.
to I like to feel productive first thing after I wake up.
good for you. I need
But
to
also,
take that.
I kind of feel bad because I realize, shit, I'm running the dishwasher and it is 8 a.m. So I don't know how loud that is. On top of the impossibly creaky floors that are in this apartment.
So you should basically not leave your room until like 11 a.m.
We should build a suspension system
Yep.
where we just kind of like pull ourselves on pulleys that like hover us above the ground.
If
And
you
make
do
the
that,
sixth floor pay for it.
Yes.
I want to live here if you do that.
Okay, so we're going to come back to it. There's 2 things I want to talk about real quick
Yeah.
before we end this, because this is going to be one of the longest podcasts that we've had so far.
Ever.
I want to
Ever.
talk about. There are 3, actually 4. There's 4. There's 3 hauntings that they talk about in the Andrew Jackson. The very first one is the ghost of the Andrew Jackson Hotel, which is the children. There are 5 children.
Where they're like,
There's 5 children, and the ghosts that they've heard, and again, they say they hear kids playing in the courtyard in the middle of the night. Again, why in the middle of the night?
Why are kids up in the middle of the night? Go to
It's your
bed.
curfew. Go to
Do
bed.
they have
yeah.
different time systems in ghost time?
Maybe.
But here's the other one. These are kids that were supposed to be part of, in the 17, 18, whatever century that these things are part of. They turn your TV on whether you sleep. This is what people say. These kids, they hear laughter, and then
Right. Like, how does a ghost from
Yeah.
the 1700s know
know
how to turn on a TV?
They don't.
Wow,
They
I never
don't.
thought
They
of that.
barely know not how to like get yellow fever.
So-
That's-
So you were very sure that it was a male child that was wailing.
Yes, everything about that experience, that's what happened. Who knows how much of that was influenced by the little bit that I'd heard already, but that was what I saw.
So I was looking up something. So your one friend that said she left the lights on,
Rachel.
they came back and they were off. So there was a caretaker at the hotel,
I think I heard this once.
That's the third ghost I was going to mention. Was the ghost of
and
the caretaker.
she very much, she straightened the towel, she flipped the pillows, she would turn off the lights, she arranged the furniture in case it got put out of place. It would, like, for guests that experienced the odd
Hospitality.
misplacement
And it's not
or something that a caretaker would like do to take care of, like, a child's forgot to do this, she would do this.
And the cleaning staff claimed that they were being watched. They felt that they were constantly being watched
yeah.
by someone, and that's the caretaker that they would bring.
I love this.
And there's a lot of claims of disembodied footsteps of going up and down the halls when
Well, and
people
also
weren't there.
She's one that they said they've seen. This is one of the we've
caretaker?
seen. She is a caretaker that she has been seen.
Is she wearing a long white flowing dress? Because in my mind,
She's wearing a
all women
sheet
ghosts
over her head.
do.
She's
Well, and
wearing
it
a sheet.
says, and it also says she's mostly seen on the second floor, which is the floor that you were on.
True. This, it was her.
Oh, and she moves furniture around too. So if there was a drawer,
If
that
she was, yeah, she
So-
was
so
looking
going
through
back-
my undies.
okay. Sorry, go ahead. No. I was just going to say, like, that was one of them, but the 3 rooms that they can hear children in are 107, 106, and 208. Those are the rooms that they hear.
Does
all
it
the scary
say
stuff.
why those rooms?
No, and this it does not right now.
So 208. Let me go back up here.
But 208 is the
it's-
Armand.
It
Is it?
208 is the Armand room, but it doesn't say why he was in that room. And considering the fact that they basically tore everything down and then built the hotel,
Yeah.
it could have been, if you're taking this into consideration, like the spot where that incident happened. It could have been from the 4th floor, 5th floor. Like, could have been anywhere. It could have happened off the 1st floor, and he just fell and broke his neck weird. We don't know, but
Which, of course, they do say Armand, his thing is giggling and laughing, not
yeah.
crying.
You said that
So what
earlier,
did you
which I
do?
thought was interesting.
What did you do to make Armand cry?
It was probably Jeremy, you're the best, but maybe he got mad at Jeremy. Maybe he was mad at us.
Cry.
He was mad at us for not staying out and having fun longer.
yeah.
Or maybe it was on the anniversary of his passing, and so it was a sad day.
It could have been. So with that, the last ghost that people actually say that they do see there, and I think it's because, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be blunt, they're just stupid. People say, I saw the
ghosts?
ghost of Andrew Jackson.
Oh,
People, because they maybe
that's so
assume-
far back. It's Andrew Jackson Hotel. That's
I know, but he died before it was even built.
and not even there.
He
That
was
doesn't
never
even
he
make
never
sense.
stayed there. All he did back in the day when it was a courthouse is like accuse people of being treasonous, and like he put judges in jail because he was a bad guy, and that's the whole connection. Like
Where
was a
he
president.
occasionally worked.
Yeah. So
yeah.
with that, he was an asshole, And so people say, well, I just saw Andrew Jackson in the Andrew Jackson Hotel. No, you did. Why would you, as a ghost, look like yourself? Why would you just be a clone?
I don't think you have a
would.
choice. I mean, why do you currently, as yourself, look like yourself?
Because I don't work out. That's why. This is exactly why I look. You're shocked. I'll take my shirt off and you'll get it.
But wait, are you saying that after I die, I can come back as a ghost that looks like anyone I want?
Well, if you die at 98, are you going to then be a 98-year-old ghost?
Yeah.
Or do you get to be like
No.
fabulous now?
I
Liberty.
look
Liberty.
like
You're
I
come
pretty
look
back
like the age
fucking
when I died.
fabulous right now.
Come back as your 27-year-old self.
That
I don't
sounds
think.
like,
I don't.
I don't want to come back as 32-year-old me when I had a soul patch.
Oh my
I
god.
don't want that. I'll it's like, what if I came back as that one? Like, oh
I
no,
feel
I'm
like
soul patch me.
If you were a ghost, I mean, technically, ghosts, air quotes, are when
that was only one, by the way.
They're
That was only one.
trapped.
they're trapped and they can't move on from this point. So I feel like as a ghost, you are stuck in the body that you were in when you passed.
I agree.
You don't age as a ghost. You don't get younger as a ghost.
Yeah, we can hear. We've all just heard that, right? The little
the
kid that was
creepy
running up there.
footsteps.
Yeah, so we all just heard the ghost that lives upstairs.
The mini
from me.
mentor,
Yeah.
It is.
minotaur.
I really hope that's a kid because otherwise that's a kid ghost.
Imagine
Kid ghost.
I
that
heard
happening
giggling?
for 3 hours straight this morning.
The kid just learned how to walk, so he's all over it.
Yeah.
He just learned how to jog. Because that was what was happening. He
Yeah.
was just running laps.
That's amazing. Wait, so Bill, I have a question. Have you, in your research, read anything about anyone seeing the ghost of Armand? Or just hearing
no,
him?
I don't think so. And I'm going to look real quick. I think that it's all. Here's the thing: is generally when anybody will tell you, especially like the Gettysburg stuff, or somebody says a hotel, they'll always say, "There's a ghost of a boy." And it will tell you a story. I'm actually very
like a trope.
impressed because this gives a name of a boy. Generally, they'll say a woman in white.
Yeah,
a
they
boy,
very
a boy
they
in a hat.
very rarely
So-
most ghost
so
stories
this
very
is- A
rarely
boy
give a
in a hat.
name.
So this is really, really great. They just say Armand's spirit he's been known to wake up people from their sleep in 208, and it's a very ghostly giggling or laughing. Oftentimes, people say that they've been shoved, but the bed gets moved, and they can't tell why. Like the bed physically will get moved. But so far, no one has actually seen his ghost. They just say that he does not appear to be aggressive. But it's clear that he likes to play games with the living, and that he's only in room 208. That's
But
it.
how do you know it's Armand? It could be any of the kids.
Well, it could be. It's the same thing. If I told you that my apartment right now was haunted by a guy named Bob, and then we left and had you stay here and you heard a sound, you're like, well,
I'd be like,
Bob's
"It's
here.
Bob."
Hey, Bob, what's up? And he starts crying.
Yeah. Or old Larry.
Old Larry. My name is Bob Old Larry. Yeah, it could be that. But with that, all right, so that's a great story. We got our really first ghost story.
Yeah. And here's the thing. There are definitely cases, and it's real, that there is like implied memory. You hear stories and you can kind of make something up from there. My mom has a memory of being on a train with her grandmother, but it never ever happened. But I don't know. This happened.
Generally, those are youth. I have two stories from my youth that when I relayed them to my parents, they looked at me like I was an idiot.
I
Yeah,
had the
actually,
same thing.
I did
my
too.
parents
This is an episode.
my parents don't remember me. My parents, so I went
They
to
don't remember you?
I
You
went
went
to-
home? Who are you? I'm telling you, leave this house,
I
stranger.
was interrupted mid-sentence. I went to a private school kindergarten, and I went to a private school 3rd grade on.
Not a special school.
Private.
Okay.
My parents don't remember sending me to public school for 1st and 2nd grade.
Where did you go?
Roosevelt Elementary in Clovis, New Mexico.
Or Roosevelt, depending from where you're from.
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
I have referenced going to school at Roosevelt Elementary in different instances and like, what are you talking about? Like, when I went to that school, which was a public school, I'm like, we don't.
And they don't have
For
any
some reason,
idea what you're
it does
talking about.
not register that I went to a public school for 2 years before I went back into a different private school.
I feel like we need to investigate. Find
It's
some
so weird because
yearbooks.
I've
This could be the
brought-
Mandela effect.
I've brought it up
Yes.
several times, and they, for some reason, maybe it was sleep deprivation. I don't know what the hell was going on. They don't remember the fact that I went to public school
Do you,
For 2 years.
Do you
for
remember-
2 years.
do you remember your teachers?
Yeah. Michelle Mitchell was my first one.
Oh, and you knew her first name.
Her
That's-
daughter Candy got hit in the head with a baseball bat one day at school.
This is really a very
This is-
elaborate
this is
like
first grade.
fascination, or
This
this
is-
is
no.
like your parents.
This is first grade. I remember that happening in first grade. Michelle Mitchell, her daughter got hit in the head with a baseball bat, and she had to leave, and we had to have someone come. And I don't remember who or what happened, but I remember that thing happening. Just like, oh my God, is everything okay?
Was it a man in black?
No. Second grade was Miss Clark. She was basically the Cruella de Vil of elementary school teachers. And I went to her one time and I said, I don't know if I can turn in all of my assignments. I'm not finished. And she said, how much do you lack? I'm in second grade. I don't know
Oh
what
my
that
God.
means. I was freaking terrified
You haven't
of
taught
her.
me the word lack yet.
Exactly. And she just kept saying, like, how much do you lack? I'm like, I don't know what that means.
And then you peed your pants and went home.
I did. I peed my pants so many times in first and second grade because I was terrified of my teachers. That we actually had to have my parents came in, which is why I don't understand why they don't remember this. My parents had to come in. It's like, Tanya needs to just, as soon as she says she has to go to the bathroom, she has to go to the bathroom. Like, we can't. Like, I wet myself so many
And
times in first, second grade.
And I know
My
this going on
parents
on
don't
car
remember
rides with her.
this.
I know this going on car rides with her. When she says she has to pee, you pull over. You don't go like, 135 miles is arrested.
Like, no,
you
now.
pull over now. I know this.
You should never do that.
So for some reason, my parents don't recall
That's
that period.
crazy. Wait, does your brother remember? Or how
It
old was he?
would have been my brother is a year younger than me. So
Pretty young.
if I was in first and second grade, that means he would have been in kindergarten and first grade. So I don't know what the hell my brother was doing. Oh my God, where was my brother? He should have been in school during this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was he not there? Was he a ghost? Were you,
didn't-
a
actually
ghost?
after we finished.
What
you
like
need to
did
recall.
he did they put him through the other school that I left?
Wait, I know what it was.
Oh my God, I've never thought about this.
You went to a ghost school.
Yeah, there we go. And there was little people crying in the corner.
I have so many very
You went to-
distinct memories.
You went to school in room 208.
But my parents were just like, I remember like, yeah, when I went to Roosevelt Elementary, and like, what are you talking about?
I'm going to
It's like,
investigate.
I did a school performance there, and you came.
Well, this is actually going to be an episode. We're going to talk
Yeah.
about this, and
Or
we're going to talk
its
about
own
why
podcast.
people are afraid of ghosts.
And also why
That's the
people
next episode.
remember things that either other people don't remember or never happened.
I do want to hear Ryan and Tom's take on why people are afraid of ghosts. It'll be really interesting.
That would be fun.
I want to
Yeah.
hear your family's take on why they don't remember you when you
Yeah.
went to public school.
And like,
and-
where was my brother doing
And with that, as we close this podcast out, I'm going to talk about one thing real quick. During this podcast, we've been drinking a bottle of what's called Ghost Pines
Oh my God.
wine. And as we've been doing this, Tanya, I should say Tanya is a designer. She is an artist. She's a designer. She's done lots of things. She can't stop staring at the bottle.
I'm going to take a picture of this bottle as we speak.
And I want to ask you, why can you not stop looking at this bottle?
So, I mean, it's a lovely bottle. It is, oops.
So what's it called?
It's called Ghost Pines. It's a really nice looking bottle.
And what
A
is...
Merlot.
And your legs are beautifully outstretched in the background.
by the way, if you look at the picture that we post on the Facebook page, you will see my legs.
The label is called Ghost Pines.
I have very nice legs.
I don't know what the fucking hell kind of trees those are, but they're not pine trees. They might be aspens. They might be oaks. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
And
they're
then what
ghost-
is it?
On the back of the label, it talks about the Martini family developed this land into a vineyard, which they named Ghost Pines as a tribute to the native gray pines, which at dusk appear to hover, which I understand because a fog lays on the ground, so they look like they float, solitary and ghost-like throughout the coastal valleys.
So
These are tall, skinny, gangly-ass trees.
Deciduous.
These are not pine trees.
They look like what they should be is this. If they were ghost pines, they should be pine trees that have sheets on them.
This is true. But
That's what
I
they
have
should be.
I have a theory. It's the Martini family.
But
so
still, like, if
maybe they just had a few.
if I
There we go.
if I
yeah.
name my wine Creek Valley, and it's a picture of a lake,
No, I think it needs
does
to be a
that
picture
make
of
sense?
like
Alright, so
a post office.
I know how her brain artistically.
no, like just
Looks.
not even artistically.
Logically.
Artistically and logically, I thought, okay, pine trees kind of look like Christmas trees. I understand why they went with something different, but the fact that they call it out specifically
on the label.
it's like, why the hell are these not pine trees? But I will give them one prop. So if you go to the picture on our post that we have about it, where it says Ghost Pines, the H in ghost has 2 lines instead of one. That is like a crossbar. I appreciate that because it kind of implies something that is there that's not supposed to be.
I would have never noticed that. I appreciate that so much.
That's why I'm a designer.
That's why we love
So I appreciate that element, and then the year where they have the 2015 is kind of like a little bit of a
It's kind of pagan-esque.
kind of pagan, which I appreciate, which kind of implies to that. But if you're gonna talk about ghost pines, for God fucking damn, put a pine tree on it. I know they're not scary, but make it look like what you want it to look like, not these gangly ass little trees that are gonna I'm
Look
gonna
like 2
drop
years
my
old.
leaves. I'm so
Is that the one?
gentle.
I like the voice
Ghost
of the tree.
trees. I fell asleep and I started hearing this ghost in this tree next to me going,
Like-
I'm going to drop my leaves.
I just
Also,
if you're gonna talk about a specific tree, don't if you're gonna talk about roses and your wine label is rose wine,
don't put a
don't
picture
show
of a lily.
chrysanthemums
Yeah.
or daisies.
I should
Or
say
dandelions.
I can't say chrysanthemums. Say it
I
again, hold on.
used to until you said
Chrysanthemum.
it that way.
Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum.
So
Nope,
you have a
get it,
lisp
I'm
when you
out.
say it.
I'm surprised. You know what's funny? You said show roses. I would have said don't show daisies. You went for the hard one. I'm really impressed with that. Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum.
Or where, depending where you're part of the region you're from. Chrysanthemum.
So just one more thing on this. If there's anyone listening from Ghost Pines Label Winery, give us a call. Let us
I
know.
would love to
Or
know
if- or if
why
you work
you
at the Andrew
decided to
Jackson.
do that.
Or if you work at the Andrew Jackson.
Or if you live in room 208 at the hotel.
Or if your name is
Or if you live
Armand.
in New Orleans and
Nolians? No,
And you wanna
no,
tell us
Nolans?
bad we butchered the name of your city. I'm touring on ice right now. so-
or if you've ever seen a ghost.
All right.
Just
yeah,
kidding.
or
Don't
ghost.
open it up that much.
Okay, so with that, now that we are into the longest podcast we've ever recorded,
Editing. Hopefully.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there'll be more. So with that, I think we're going to close this out. But Liberty, I'm so excited. We finally we hinted to this forever,
We did.
And I'm glad we finally
Weeks.
told the story
That's my
of the
story.
crying little boy in room 208.
And if you have any stories, if you've ever stayed there, we would love to hear them.
And if by chance you could turn back time,
Oh.
tell us that one also, because we already had our time travel episode, but we can do it.
So
again.
check out our Facebook and our Instagram at...
Well, it's just Eat, Drink, and Be Scary on Facebook, but our Instagram is Ghostumentary, which, by the way, is the movie that you.
You seriously are still plugging us under your movie.
Yeah, you
We
should
need our
watch it.
own.
Yeah, I know.
Does
We
it
should.
cover the Andrew Jackson Hotel?
Well, it might. I think we might have to go there and do that one.
You'll never know. Find out what happens next. You'll never guess.
All right. With that, does anybody want to say anything? Anybody want to plug anything like that?
I would since they're not here, Ryan's not here. He's been super busy because they have expanded Alter Egos in Boise, Idaho.
They're like
They're
Nice.
doubling the size of their shop.
In
So
the same location?
I think so.
Same building.
On
Same building.
Vista.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
Go
building
there,
on Vista.
people.
So if you're in Boise, Idaho, go check it out. It's on Vista, kind of between Overland and Kootenai.
South,
Next,
Ish.
kind of near the bank over there, near the washing lady.
It's Alter Egos. Go check it out.
But he's been super busy building that. So
And tell him I'll be back.
check it out.
And Ryan will be back for the next show. So,
Yeah. They've been
because
busy.
I think the next show I want to talk about why the fuck are we afraid of ghosts?
And we
I like
still
it.
need to talk about the Leeds Devil.
Oh, that's true. Coming soon.
Coming soon.
But
to a
also,
podcast near you
like,
guys.
I have the perfect song for the next episode.
Oh wait, hold on. In 3, 2, 1, go.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
There we go. And with that,
You're welcome.
everybody say good night.
Good night.
Good night. Did you say good night?
Good night.
Okay, there we go.